Hello everyone and welcome to Gurung's classes. Today in the environmental science of class 10 we are doing the chapter food. Okay, and in food we are doing sustainable agriculture, about which we have already discussed in the previous video. What is sustainable agriculture? Okay, and to remind you, sustainable agriculture means helping the agriculture so that it can help the people to provide food, okay, now, okay, and in the future also sustainably, okay, continuously. Okay, and now we have here, okay, in sustainable agriculture, now there are various things that come into consideration. One is agriculture normally, they get pest infected, yes or no? Okay, so to now in sustainable agriculture, now there were use of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, etc., weedicides, etc. Now we have here a new term that is known as integrated pest management. Now what is integrated pest management? Now for sustainable agriculture, high yielding varieties were used, or better varieties of seeds were used, genetically modified seeds were used. Okay, because of that also the growth, or the production was very high. But what were the disadvantages were that there was a high use of chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, because of which the nature, the environment, the soil, the water, okay, everything, the food chain, it was affected. So in the long run, okay, it was affecting a huge or number of organisms and their life cycle, okay, the numbers. So that was why, okay, a new word that is known as integrated pest management came, okay, as a new word, as a new substitute, or as a help for sustainable agriculture. Now what do we mean by integrated pest management? Integrated pest management means, okay, its main aim is to help the agriculture, okay, to man here, see, here we have used the word management. The pest is there, and for the pest, here the word killing is not used. Here management of the pest, the word is used. Now why is the word management? Means, managing the pest in such a way that the pest also can be reduced, or can be ward off from the agriculture, from the organisms, from the plants, okay, and without harming the environment, so that is known as integrated pest management. And if there has to be a use of the chemicals, then also that should be the last option. Otherwise, what other options could be made, okay, possible in order to ward off those pests? Because now what comes into consideration is nature, controlling the pest by taking nature and its quality into consideration is known as integrated pest management. Its main aim is to help the agriculture, okay, by taking off the pest. That means managing the pest. Main aim of integrated pest management is to manage the pest, reducing the number of the pest, controlling the pest, okay, without hampering the nature. So that is integrated pest management. Now how is it done? Now see, there are various stages, or there are various methods applied in integrated pest management. Okay, for example, if it is possible to control the pest physically or traditionally, okay, now by doing certain things with which the pests normally does not arise only. For example, sanitization. Say suppose mushroom culture. If you talk about mushroom culture, mushroom normally during this time in the rainy season, if you go to the jungle, then you'll find mushrooms. At home also we can do mushroom, okay, culture, whereby you have to get the seeds, and then you can, you need is for button mushroom, for oyster mushroom, what you need is hay, okay, and then you take the straws or the hair, then you cut into small pieces, or you get ready made in the market also, and then you have to soak it in water. You need to put something else also, and then in a small plastic also you can grow. Fine, but again, if you do not take utmost care of the environment, of sterilizing the environment or sanitization, then again the pest, that means fungus, will grow. Again another fungus will grow, it will rot, it will become brown, the growth will not be good. So that means what is very important is cleaning of that area, proper sanitization. Okay, after every growth you need to clean that area properly, so that is very important. For example, even in case of, suppose you have is animals also, suppose animals also, they become diseased, yes or no? But if you keep the area clean, if you keep the shed of the cow clean, neat, you clean it properly, then there is a high chance of that animal not being diseased. Fine. So cultural method is there, whereby sanitization is very important, or moisture maintenance of the moisture, or particular temperature maintenance. So culturally, what is possible, that is done in order to reduce the pest. But if that is also not possible, then we can go for a physical method, whereby you put his net, okay, or you put certain traps. And nowadays you must have seen, even in tea garden areas, okay, certain glue, certain big certain, what do you call that, traps, that is normally traps only, okay, insect traps are there, whereby it is placed on certain places, okay, hung on the tree or attached to the tree, and then these pests, okay, they go and unfortunately they get attached there, okay, stick to there, and they die. So that means this way also these such pests can be controlled, which is like, say suppose, if not, I can give you a live example of my also. Now see, because of this lockdown, even I have tried, just using the time for good. So I also have tried, putting what do you call is beans, okay, or what do you call that is maize, okay. So these crops they grow, or even I tried mushrooms also. So these crops they grow very well. When you try to grow them at home, they grow very well. But the disadvantage is that when you are not using, okay, any pesticides, then what happens is that pests normally they attack so easily, so fast, okay, that your growth of the plant is hindered. So what I could have done is I could have used a pesticide, or what I could have done is I could have used certain other plants or certain other organisms. Okay, like say suppose certain aphids are there on rose plant. If you see, certain aphids are there and they eat the juice of the rose plant, and to eat the aphid again, okay, what are there is ladybugs are there. Again, ladybugs, they eat the aphids. So that means that also is a natural method of pest control. Okay, so literally they are used. Now I left the plants like that only, so they ate my plant. Now integrated pest management means introducing certain other insects which will eat those plant eating insects. Okay, so that is a part of integrated pest management. Okay, that is called biological, okay, one method of integrated pest management, whereby I use a predator against the pest. Did you get my point? Okay, biological entity, that means other organisms, okay, which eats those pests and control the damage of the plant. Or if not, ultimately then only there is a use of the chemicals, okay, in the least way. That also what we can use is biopesticides, bioherbicides. There are certain long time back our ancestors were using them, okay, but with the use of chemical pesticides, chemical herbicides, the market has now been flooded with such chemicals, because they have is a direct impact, fast impact, like a fast result, but it has a fast impact upon the nature also. Okay, so that is why nowadays in integrated pest management we uses bioherbicides, biopesticides are used, which will have less impact upon the environment, the nature. So integrated pest management is very important nowadays for sustainable agriculture, but it has definitely advantages and disadvantages also. Advantages, you see, it causes less harm to the nature. There is a less use of chemicals. Okay, the quality of the product can be maintained definitely. Okay, and the chemicals are used only when necessary. So, and apart from that, there are a lot more advantages of integrated pest management, but there are certain disadvantages also. For example, it is a very time-taking process. Number one, okay, one has to be very well knowledged or educated about the system, how to introduce integrated pest management, which pest to use, which biological predator to use against what. Okay, training through the government officials to the farmers, that is also proper monitoring is also very necessary, because if you use chemicals, pesticides directly, now there is one time use, okay, or after a certain time also, again for the larva you use another one. So that is not time taking also, but yes, definitely, and it is costly also. And sometimes what might happen is, say suppose for organism A, or for suppose a pest A, you are using another biological predator B, suppose, and B ate all A organisms. But later on, what might happen is, again the organism that you have used against an organism or against a pest might again remain there forever and might become pest. So this also could be a problem. Okay. So otherwise, okay, integrated pest management is very helpful. So kindly go through integrated pest management. Okay, it's various steps, the advantages and the disadvantages, the definition and its aims and objective. Fine. Now here we have another word that is known as genetically modified organisms. Now genetically modified organisms, in short, it is known as GMOs. Now what do we mean by GMOs? Now see, nature is all natural. It is we human beings only who have fiddled with the nature. For example, river was flowing on its own pace. We stopped the river and then we made dams and then we produced electricity. We modified the nature. Yes or no? Isn't it? Or wind was flowing naturally. We stopped the wind and then we made a windmill and then electricity generated or did something. So we are hindering, we are modifying nature. So likewise, organisms which were given naturally by the nature, again we are modifying those organisms for our benefit. Yes or no? Because we saw a plant is there and then the plant is giving, suppose rice plant is there and it takes suppose 5 to 6 months for a rice plant to grow. Now population is increasing a huge lot. It's already 1.3 billion in India. Okay, so to feed that population, waiting for 6 months for the rice to grow, now it's a time taking process. So rice was genetically modified so that its lifespan was reduced up to 3 to 4 months. So that means in 1 year, instead of having two harvest, we can have is 3 to 4 harvest. So that means it can feed more number of people. So that was why the plants were genetically modified. Organisms were genetically modified so that we can have is better nutritional values, better yield we can get, more harvest we can get. For example, seedless bananas and all, or for example, disease resistant, because we all were using what chemicals against the pest, because normally when a plant grows, pest attacks the plant. Yes, sir. And again, for them, you have to go for the cultural method or the physical method or the biological method or the chemical method, or you have to use. That means it is costly. How about genetically modified organisms which are pest resistant by themselves only? Yes or no? By birth. You got my point? Okay. For example, here we have is BT cotton. Cotton normally is there and it is normally eaten by a worm which is known as bollworm. So BT cotton. So BT cotton means a cotton in which a bacterial protein is inside, a gene is inserted in fact, and what happens is that that cotton now is known as BT cotton. Actually BT means the name of the bacteria, okay, Bacillus thuringiensis. Now the gene of that bacteria, okay, the gene of that bacteria is introduced in the cotton. As a result, that gene produces a protein inside the cotton. So when the worm eats the cotton, then the protein goes inside the worm, and then the protein now gets activated inside the gut or in the stomach, and then the worm dies. So that means the cotton is pest resistant, genetically modified organism. For example, flavor saver tomato. When your mother also says, go and fetch some tomatoes from the market, go and get some tomatoes. So the mother says, hey, don't get all the tomatoes, don't bring all red tomatoes, because tomatoes, the lifespan, that means, it's very short. Today it's red, tomorrow it might be a bit red, and then the next day it starts rotting. Okay, so genetically modified tomatoes are there whereby it does not rot for a longer period. That means it remains, that redness, that ripened tomatoes, remains for a longer period of time, and it doesn't rot only. How? Genetically modified. So that means genetically modified organisms, there could be pest resistance advantages. We could have is seedless, fruits are there, or they have is more nutritional values are there. For example, you have is broiler is there. What is this? Or genetically modified, what we say is boiler, that's broiler. Yes or no? And that is specially meant for meat purpose only. So that within 45 to 50 days, they simply eat and they rest. They eat and they rest. Yes or no? You feed them the food, they eat and they rest, and within 45 to 50 days, they are ready. Okay? To be slaughtered and to be used in the food market. Because for other normal, there's village chicken, what happens is that you have to wait. And then, the meat, the amount is also not that good. Yeah, so it is time taking. So genetically modified organisms are organisms which are modified genetically, whereby I am controlled by my gene inside my nucleus, inside my chromosome. Yes or no? So that chromosome is altered by an advantageous, by a beneficial gene. I want a gene, okay, a gene which is beneficial for me. Fine. For example, orange is there, and that orange suppose has seed. Definitely orange will have seed. Okay. How about an orange without seed? Okay, so in the orange, that gene which controls the seed is taken out. Okay, so next time, it's a time taking process. It's not that easy whereby you did the practice today and then tomorrow you get the result. No, it's not that. But then also scientists are trying their hard, they are giving their best in order to produce genetically modified organisms for the betterment or to feed more. But definitely, okay, we have is cattle, pigs, goats, sheep. Okay, these also are the organisms which are genetically modified, but there are certain disadvantages or environmental risks also. What are the environmental risks? See, number one is nature, means natural. We also, though science and technology has gone very far, we've been to the moon, we've been to we've been exploring the space, we've been going down deep in the sea, but then also there still we believe that there is a supreme power, somebody who controls. Yes or no? And whatever we do, that nature we cannot control. We cannot be above the nature. Okay, so and we have is an ethical issues. It is, we all are the product, we all are the result, we all are the gift of God. So we don't have the rights to control or fiddle with the nature and its laws. Okay, so environmental issues are there, and it's risky also. Nobody knows, because till date we've been doing, and in the next decade or in the coming time, whatever might happen, we don't know. It might be mutated also. Genetically organisms, over a period of time, the gene again might fall, become default, and then mutation might occur, and that mutation again might enter the human food chain, and the human food chain might also be affected. Okay, and certain diseases also might outbreak. For example, right now we all are suffering from corona for the past 1.5 years, and or 2 years, in fact, what we can say, the whole world, in fact. Okay, so corona, okay, the special what we can say is, it could be a result of mutation, who knows. And definitely we've been talking about corona, phase 1, phase 2, now phase 3 is also there, and then various strains of corona is there now. Delta is there, delta strain is there, strain type 2 is there, now delta type is there, delta plus is there. What is that? They all are altering their their types. They are mutating. Okay, and the more they mutate, the more difficult it becomes for the medicine, the science, the doctors to control them. Okay, so that is why that they become very risky to fiddle with genetically modified organisms. Okay, anyways, okay, today what we have learned is sustainable agriculture, integrated pest management, how to control pests in the best possible ways without harming the nature, and we studied about genetically modified organisms, their advantages and their disadvantages. Okay, so students, thank you very much.